It's time for our Seen and Unseen segment where we reveal the story behind the headline. For that, we have a special celebrity guest star. Actor and director Robert Davi joins us. Merry Christmas, Robert. And you've apparently came costumed. I love it. Robert, a woman named Mary Jane Copps has cornered the market on overcoming phone phobia. She calls herself the phone lady. Get this, she charges $480 an hour for her services. She says Gen Zers were never taught how to speak on the phone. She teaches them how to overcome their fear by giving them advice like this.
Let's visit the idea of taking care of your voice. Your voice is your brand. I'm going to talk to you a bit about the importance of viewing all your phone calls as meetings. We want to use this discovery call to display our confidence. If there's background noise, it's a distraction on a phone call.
Robert, the average age children get their phones is 11 years old. Why would they be afraid to use something they've had since elementary school?
Because they don't phone, they text. And a lot of adults have the same kind of phobia, Raymond. They're afraid of talking on the they've lost that art. They'd rather text. And this is I think it's for TikTok, it's for Instagram, it's for DMing, it's for other kind of apps. But they don't speak on the phone. They don't call up and say, hey, what are you guys doing? I have kids, they're texting.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant, adults are texting back and forth. It's difficult for people. They've lost that. Look at Gen X needs a lot more training on other things.
Well, how about human interaction? I mean, it's human cues, it's vocal cues that is totally lost when this is all you're using. Look, for $480 an hour, forget the phone. She needs to be the cursive and manners lady, as far as I'm concerned. Here are some young people we spoke to about this phone crisis today.
Some of my friends are afraid to talk to, like if we're ordering a pizza or something. So I usually do it for them because I need that practice, and it's a good skill to have.
I would rather text because it's easier. So yeah, I would say I also decline calls because why not just text me? It's quicker and easier.
Mostly I usually text, but phone calls are not like trouble for me. If someone calls me, I'll answer and I'll talk to them, but I'm not usually to make a phone call.
Robert Davi, you've directed, you've acted your whole life. It just occurred to me, could this be why acting is degraded and degrading in our culture today? Because people don't have, you can't replicate emotions and little sensitive moments and details that you've never observed in life.
They are preparing us for artificial intelligence, whereby we have a plug in our brains and we lose human interaction. As you said, with the acting classes, there's Skype classes, there's kids aren't getting up and doing scene study like they did for decades with you and I did with Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg and the rest of them. Those few and far between, and it's endemic of the whole society.
Wow.
We have look at, you call up a service, you don't speak to a human being. You have 45 prompts to get through to somebody, maybe who's a human being that can speak English.
Yeah, no, it's all meant to delay human contact. Robert, I need to move on. Director James Cameron has been out promoting his new film, the sequel to Avatar, that nobody asked for. He spoke to Esquire about his past use of guns in films, saying, I look back at some of the films I've made, and I don't know if I would want to make that film now. I don't know if I would want to fetishize the gun like I did a couple of Terminator movies 30-plus years ago. In our current world, what's happening with guns in our society turns my stomach. I'm happy to be living in New Zealand, where they just banned all assault rifles, end quote. Cameron also went on to say he cut about 10 minutes of gunplay from his newest movie. Now, Hollywood should take note, Robert. This is one way to get James Cameron to cut his movies down. But it strikes me, this is like Dolly Parton decrying blonde wigs and cleavage. He made his money on gunplay. Every movie, Terminator, True Lies, all of this stuff had gunplay. It feels like latter-day virtue signaling to me. What say you?
Yes, well, I mean, I used to ride motorcycles with him and Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 90s and stuff, during Terminator and afterwards in True Lies era. And he was a gentleman. He was a nice man. And I think it is the virtue signaling that is happening. Look, Raymond, there's a crisis in Hollywood whereby white men, white showrunners, white writers, white directors, older guys are not getting hired. They want younger or people of color. So there's a fear, I'm sure, in terms of saying, I don't want to feel out of touch with this Gen Z generation that's whatever is happening out there in society. And I think that's part of the issue. There's a fear of, and there has to be. There can also be, because I don't know his current state of being, but there can also be a revelation in terms of, you know, what's the violence in Hollywood films, what it portrayed. And I say, what about the gaming? The gaming is even worse. The gaming is an active participation of violence to a non-human object that's pretending to be a human. That kind of mystifies, you know, so
no, you're absolutely right. And the gaming is far more pervasive than and influential than films. Kids are spending hours immersed in it, communicating with each other through these gaming platforms. You know, the other thing that he said, Robert Cameron said, was that he regretted the toxic masculinity of his films in the past. Now, in the year that saw Top Gun as the #1 movie in the country, it's an odd time to pick a fight with masculinity, isn't it?
It's the sign of the times. It's an unfortunate, very unfortunate thing that's happening. I talked to a friend of mine, my new neighbor here in Tampa Bay. He's an ex-Green Beret guy. Wonderful person. I won't mention his name, but highly decorated. He told me that in the military now, this toxic masculinity, that women who cannot do the job, that are, let's say for men, they have to do 8 deadlifts. A woman can just do a half a thing. And then when they get in situations, a woman was jumping out of the plane and she couldn't pull herself up to untangle you know, so it's a problem.
Robert, I wish I had more time, but we will discuss toxic masculinity in all its varieties when we return in the new year. Happy New Year, Robert. Great to see you, and thank you for the hat.
I'm also a singer. Don't forget, I'm also a singer.
Okay.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.